Exposed. How a kind millionaire turned his life around after a poor maid's 30-second warning. Ethan Miller, the golden boy of Maplewood, rose from nothing to a tech mogul, basking in the glow of affluence. He glided through glamorous parties in tailored suits, dining on caviar, and grinning behind the wheels of cars that cost more than most homes. But that night at the charity gala, a seemingly perfect evening brought him face to face with a reality he had sprinted away from. As Ethan mingled, his laughter echoed like chimes in a deep pocket. That's when he spotted her, Maria, a single mother, threading through the elegant crowd with a broom in hand, her face weary but fierce. Just a smile and a few words from her turned Ethan's world upside down for 30 heartbeats. "Do you really think this is how life should be?" she asked, her brown eyes piercing through the layers of his privilege. Those words wrapped around him like a tightening rope. For a fleeting moment, he was yanked back to the town's grit friends who struggled to make ends meet, the sobering realities of their lives that fueled his ambition. But as quickly as the thought flickered, chaos erupted in Ethan's polished world. His startup threads began unraveling with shocking speed. The stock reports showed a downward spiral, and the wall of betrayal rose behind those he called partners. What had once seemed like a golden empire was crumbling, while the echoes of Maria's warning thundered in his ears. Each night fell heavier, filled with sleepless contemplation. Meanwhile, Maria hustled through her days, pouring her heart into raising her 2 kids. She fought back tiredness with courage, juggling jobs and community support. Every smile and each hug she offered to her children masked the weight on her shoulders. She was not just surviving. She was thriving amidst challenges unlike Ethan, who sat in a castle of riches while feeling more trapped inside than ever. Ethan's attempts to reclaim his lost fortune failed time after time, creating a suffocating echo of judgment. Each rejection tore deeper into him. His illusions of power swiftly became chains. He sought solace in the past, but the memories of high school friends faded, overshadowed by the glittering chaos he now occupied. One evening, hearing whispers of a town hall meeting, curiosity pulled him in. His intention, networking, but what he found was far from the world of suits and smiles he knew. It was Maria at the podium. As she passionately urged the community to come together, her voice raised not just for herself, but for the many like her. Something within Ethan cracked open. She spoke of unity, of hope, of love amid struggles. And there he was, a specter in the room filled with heartfelt energy. At that moment, a fierce conflict began to brew inside him. Should he bring wealth and resources into this space, or was there something else he could offer? As her speech reached a crescendo, Ethan felt all eyes on him, pressing him with unanswered questions. Here he was, drowning in one identity while struggling for another. Could he finally embrace his roots, show up for a community long ignored? Would he step out of his gilded cage and help bring light to Maria's vision? Hope hung in the air, mingling with uncertainty. It was a crossroads moment, with Ethan desperate to cross that line, but would he risk it all? The room buzzed with energy as Maria finished her speech, and Ethan felt the weight of the collective gaze pressing down on him. It was a mix of curiosity and expectation. What would the wealthy tech mogul do? Would he dismiss the community's dreams or rise to meet their hopes? The murmur of the crowd faded into a low hum as Ethan stood. Each heartbeat echoed like a drum in his chest. He swallowed hard. The words he had rehearsed in his mind suddenly tangled and jumbled. But deep down, the truth shone like a beacon. Maria wasn't asking for charity or pity. She was calling for partnership, for a shared journey of growth and healing. Taking a deep breath, he stepped forward. The podium loomed large in front of him. Maria's fiery presence faded, and the crowd shifted their attention to him. The familiar tension filled the air, but this time it was charged with potential and invitation to transform. "Maria," he began, his voice shaky at first but gaining strength, "you're right. This isn't how life should be. None of us should have to struggle alone." The silence seemed to expand, the crowd's anticipation palpable. He could feel a spark igniting within him, fanning into a flame. "I've been running from my past, from the people it left behind. But I'm here now, and I want to help. We can turn this around together." We need to come together. Gasps broke through the crowd, eyes widening in surprise. Was this the same Ethan they knew? The man who once floated above their world, untouchable and aloof? He saw hope flicker in some eyes, while others remained skeptical. Maria stepped closer, her presence both grounding and encouraging. "What are you proposing?" she asked softly, testing the waters. "Investment," he replied, the word rolling off his tongue. "In community projects, education, job training programs. This town has so much potential, and I want to be part of it, not just financially, but actively involved." A stir moved through the audience. He watched the expressions change, uncertain feelings shifting as if the air itself had transformed. Could they trust him? Was he sincere, or just seeking redemption for his choices? "I'll work alongside you," he continued, each word laced with raw honesty. "You're already doing the hard work. I want to support you, to learn from you even. We can create real change." His eyes locked with Maria's. The fiery spirit he admired was still there, but now it was softened by something more, an openness. He could see the hope blooming within her, mirroring the flickers of rebellion against despair in his own heart. "Let us organize a meeting," she whispered, her voice steady. "We can start with the needs that matter most. You'll see how far we can go by working together." Ethan's heart swelled with a mix of relief and exhilaration. It was just the beginning, but he felt lighter, almost unburdened. It wouldn't be easy, but connecting with Maria and her dreams sparked a deep desire to reclaim not just his wealth, but his purpose, a chance to make an impact where it truly mattered. As people started dispersing, a few approached him with questions, curiosity in their eyes. But Ethan felt a shift inside him, one that was only just the start of something far more significant. As he watched Maria interact with the townsfolk, his mind raced ahead, thinking of what could be. Yet a sobering realization tugged at him. The path ahead was fraught with challenges. His past connections would not accept this change easily. What would happen when old friends, now competitors, discovered his new direction? Would they stand by him, or would they sever ties, fearing his change of heart? Ethan understood now that this wasn't merely about him. It was about all of them, the choices they would all have to face together. The journey might be filled with struggles, but for the first time since his empire began to crumble, hope tinged the horizon. It was time to confront the truth. He had to prepare himself for an upcoming storm. Would the embrace of a community be enough to weather whatever came next? Ethan stood in the center of the bustling room, the air thick with chatter and excitement. He could sense a change, a shift from doubt to cautious optimism. But beneath his excitement lay a pressing fear about what awaited him outside this safe space. "Are you really going through with this?" A familiar voice cut through the background noise. It was Jenna, his assistant and a longtime friend. Her brows knit in concern. He turned, meeting her worried gaze. "I am," he said, the firmness of his declaration surprising even himself. "This is an opportunity for something real. Ethan, you know they'll be watching," she warned, glancing toward the door. "Your old life, those connections, they won't let you go easily." "I know," he replied, his voice steady but his heart racing. "But I can't go back to that. This feels right." She sighed, the weight of her loyalty pressing against her. "I just want you to be careful. You're not just risking your reputation. You're risking your future." Jenna's concern was valid. Ethan knew that stepping away from the life he built wouldn't just cost him friendships, but also his standing in the business world. But the thought of continuing to turn a blind eye to the needs around him felt far worse. With Maria now navigating through the crowd, her animated expressions illuminating her conviction, Ethan felt a flicker of something profound. It was more than hope. It was a renewed sense of purpose. He had watched too many lives fade in front of him, too many moments void of opportunity, and he refused to be part of that narrative any longer. As the last of the audience trickled out, Maria approached him, her eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. "There's so much we can accomplish," she said, her voice a mixture of excitement and determination. "We can start with the education center we discussed. I've already spoken to some of the teachers who are willing to help." Ethan felt his heartbeat quicken. "That's amazing. Let us set a date for the meeting, and I'll pull in a few professionals to help us outline what we need." Ethan, you do realize that some will be skeptical, right? There are those in the community who will view your involvement as too little, too late, she cautioned. I get that, he sighed, running a hand through his hair. But I want to be up front with them. If they don't trust me, I want to earn that trust. I have to show them I mean it. As they formulated a plan, the conversation flowed effortlessly, their ideas melding together. The track ahead was still shrouded in uncertainty, but the excitement proved contagious. Later that evening, when he returned to the stark confines of his penthouse, the enormity of the choice he had just made crashed over him. The silence of the room felt suffocating. The luxuries that surrounded him, once comforting, now rang hollow. He grabbed a glass of water, his hands shaking. His phone buzzed incessantly, notifications of missed calls lighting up the screen. Staring at the caller ID, he felt a lump form in his throat. It was Jordan, his former business partner, the one who'd likely be the first to call him out. Don't answer, he muttered to himself, pacing the floor. But curiosity tugged at him. What would Jordan say? How would he react to Ethan's new path? With a shaky breath, he ignored the call, instead focusing on the flickering lights of the city below. It was time he faced the reality of his choice. He had pushed away the facade of old alliances. But the question loomed, how would those ties react when they felt the tug of his changing course? As he prepared for bed, doubts gnawed at him. Would Maria and the community's embrace be enough to protect him from the storm he was courting? In the stillness, he pondered the road ahead. With every awakening, there was a new fight looming. New challenges that could either lead to transformation or collapse. Was he truly ready to face the repercussions of his decision? His old life had a long reach, and he was just beginning to understand how deep the roots of his past ran. With resolve hardening in his chest, he reminded himself of the purpose that awaited him. He would rise above not just for himself, but for all those who believed in the possibility of change. Yet, when would that storm reveal itself? And would he be strong enough to weather it? Ethan awoke to the morning light filtering through the sheer curtains, illuminating the dust motes floating in the air like forgotten dreams. He rolled over, heartbeat still quick from the remnants of a restless night filled with doubts. Today was not just another day. It felt monumental. As he swung his legs over the edge of the bed, a wave of nausea washed over him at the thought of confronting his past. He forced himself to get ready, the same routine feeling monotonous against the backdrop of his newly forged intentions. He stood in front of the mirror, trying to find a glimmer of the man who had made the bold decision to change, but instead he found only the strained expression of someone caught between two worlds. After splashing cold water on his face, he let out a deep breath, hoping to dispel the nagging fears. Maria texted him a few hours later to confirm their meeting. The education center, a necessary step towards restoring the community's faith in him, loomed large in his mind. As he drove through the streets, he scanned the neighborhoods, the faded murals, laughter echoing from playgrounds, and children chasing after each other. Each scene held promise and, at the same time, underscored the disparity he was fighting against. When he finally reached the community center, the building stood like a giant beacon of hope amidst the encroaching shadows of despair. He stepped through the doors, each click of his shoes echoing like a heartbeat in the hollow expanse of the main hall. The atmosphere was tense. A small crowd had gathered, curious eyes filled with skepticism bore into him. Maria met him at the door, visibly anxious. "You ready for this?" "I have to be," he replied, his voice steadier than he felt as they approached the front. Ethan took a moment to gather his thoughts. He felt the weight of every gaze on him, the air thick with unvoiced questions and expectations. "Thank you all for coming," he began, calling on every ounce of courage. "I know some of you may not trust me because of my past, but I'm here to tell you that I want to change. Together, we can create something meaningful." A moment of silence held the room captive, and then a woman stepped forward, arms crossed tightly. "Why should we believe you? You've been part of the problem for so long." He could feel the collective tension, the murmurs rising around him. "I don't expect you to trust me automatically." He swallowed hard, his heart hammering against his ribcage. "But I promise I'll show you. We need to start making real changes. This education center can be a catalyst for that." Words won't fix anything. She shot back, her voice steady. We need action, not more empty promises. Ethan could see her point. It was a valid challenge, and she wasn't the only one. A ripple of agreement moved through the crowd. Their faces were a mix of anger and disappointment, but they were listening. He took a step closer, searching for sincerity in his tone. You're right. I need to show through action, not just talk. Let us work together to outline what the center needs, and I'll do everything in my power to make it happen. A murmur of uncertainty crossed the room. He saw some faces soften, others remain hardened. But suddenly, he felt a shift. Something changed in the air, an unsteady spark of connection, a chance that maybe they were beginning to feel him out. Just as he thought he might have opened a door, his phone buzzed again. The name on the screen made his heart drop. It was Jordan. Ethan hesitated. Would he answer and risk laying bare his new journey before the one man who could unravel it all? Ethan? Maria's voice pulled him back to the moment. How are we doing? I don't know, he admitted. But I need to know what happens next. I can't keep running from my past. Taking responsibility is the first step, she encouraged, her gaze unwavering. You could feel the pressure build in the room again. Questions unanswered, doubts still lingering. As he prepared to make the call, he sensed a storm brewing on the horizon, a confrontation not just with Jordan, but with everything he left behind. What would he say? Would he stand firm, or would the fear of his past pull him back? In that crowded room, amidst the look of apprehension and curiosity, Ethan knew the stakes were higher than ever, and an impossible choice lay ahead. Was this the moment of reckoning, or would he fall back into the shadows? Ethan felt the world accelerate, heart pounding, as the phone buzzed insistently in his pocket. He could almost hear the thud of blood rushing through his ears, drowning out the whispers and murmurs swirling in the community center. Each vibration felt like a reminder of the man he had been as well as the one he desperately wanted to become. Are you going to answer it? Maria asked, her brow furrowed with concern. Yeah, I should. He hesitated, staring down at the screen. The room was at the tipping point. With every passing second that he avoided the call, he felt as if he was losing the opportunity building right in front of him. Wasn't this the time to confront his past? To face the mistakes he'd made and the people he had hurt? Taking a deep breath, he pressed the green button and brought the phone up to his ear. Jordan. Ethan. Where the hell are you? You didn't answer my calls earlier. Jordan's voice was sharp, a blade slicing through his newfound resolve. I'm at the community center, Ethan replied, trying to keep his voice steady. I'm here for the meeting. Meeting? With who? The tone shifted, an edge of suspicion creeping in. You think they'll accept you back that easily? After everything you've done? Ethan could hear the doubt swirling in Jordan's voice, feel it like a weight pressing against him. Yet somewhere within him, a fire ignited. No, they might not. But I have to try. This is about more than me. It's about the community. Yeah, right. You're just looking for a way to smooth things over, to make yourself feel better. Jordan's laugh was mocking, dismissive. You really think they'll forgive you? A knot twisted in Ethan's stomach, but he steadied himself. It's not just about being forgiven. It's about making things right and starting over. Don't you want that for me? Silence hung between them, thick and heavy. It felt as though time had stopped. All eyes in the room focused on Ethan, suspended in a moment fraught with uncertainty. He could practically see the incredulous expressions on their faces, each of them trying to understand his next move, trying to feel if they could trust him. Jordan finally broke the quiet. Listen, about the business, you messed up badly. You think playing the saint will undo your mistakes? They know who you are, Ethan. Yeah, I do know who I am, and I don't want to be that man anymore. I'm working to change things. The words hung in the air. Deep down, he hoped Jordan would pick up on the sincerity in his voice instead of dismissing him outright. Change? Jordan chuckled bitterly. Good luck with that. You're just a ghost of who you used to be. Ethan's heart sank, but it ignited another resolve within him. I'm not a ghost. I'm right here, and I'm doing everything I can to prove that this time it's real. Before Jordan could respond, Ethan ended the call, his palms trembling. He looked up and scanned the crowd. He could see the lingering skepticism, but also a faint glimmer of understanding in some eyes, the spark of hope he dared to kindle. "Are you okay?" Maria asked, concern etching her features. He nodded, but his insides churned. "I have a long way to go. I want to prove to them, I want to prove to myself that I can do this." At that moment, he realized he needed more than words and intentions. He needed plans. "Can we outline some actual steps?" he asked, his voice threaded with determination. "What would it look like to really help this community? Let us turn today into something actionable." As the crowd slowly began to respond, tentatively suggesting ideas, a sense of purpose hung in the air. Each little voice adding to a collaborative spirit, maybe even beginning to erode some of the distrust. But as laughter started to return and ideas flowed, Ethan's heart still raced about what lay ahead. He felt the storm of uncertainty looming, but also a flicker of excitement at the thought that he wasn't alone anymore. Would that flicker grow into a fire, or would the shadows of doubt consume him whole? As he stood there, surrounded by their cautious conversation, he couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning. The past may have haunted him, but he was determined to break free. The real test was still to come, and the question loomed. Was he ready to face not just the community but the truth of his own heart? The meeting moved forward, the room alive with hesitant chatter. Ethan was reminded of a garden, hesitant buds daring to bloom in the early spring. He tried to anchor himself in the enthusiasm around him, but his heartbeat echoed in his ears, drowning out the suggestions and ideas being tossed around the room. "Ethan," Maria said, drawing him back, "what do you think about a community cleanup day? We can invite everyone to come out and clean up the park. It's a start." Ethan nodded, the idea sparking something inside him. "Yes, that's perfect. A cleanup day could show that we care. People just need to see that we can come together." "Exactly." She grinned, and for a moment, the weight of the world felt a little lighter. As other voices chimed in, adding plans for a neighborhood picnic and food drives, Ethan's pulse quickened not from anxiety but from a growing excitement. This was the momentum he had been craving, the first steps into the sunlight from years spent in the shadows. But doubt still lingered at the edges of the room, much like dark clouds that refused to disperse. He glanced around at familiar faces he'd hurt, people who had long ago lost faith in him. He wondered, would they really commit to a cleanup day, or would they simply watch him try and fail once more? "Let us take a vote. Who's in for the cleanup?" Maria proposed, optimism shining in her eyes. Ethan's heart raced as he watched hands slowly rise. Each hand represented a flicker of trust restored and opening, however small, toward redemption. When the last hand went up, a wave of emotion washed over him. It wasn't just about cleaning the park. It was about rebuilding relationships, reclaiming trust. After the meeting ended, Maria sidled up to Ethan as the crowd slowly dispersed. "I can see a change in you, Ethan. It's like you're alive again." "I feel it too," he replied. "But I need to really connect with the people. Not just through a project, but personally." "Then you should reach out," she suggested gently. "Call them. Tell them you want to meet one-on-one. Show them you're serious." His chest tightened at the thought. He had avoided those conversations for so long. Still, deep inside, a small voice urged him to take the plunge. "You're right," he breathed. "I'm going to call them. But who first?" Maria's face lit up. "Start with the ones who seemed the most receptive. Maybe Mrs. Thompson from next door? She always had your back." Ethan nodded, determination settling in like a comforting blanket. "I'll call her first." As he left the community center, the evening sun casting long shadows behind him, the weight of the day lingered softly instead of crushing him. This was his moment. He was still shaking off the past, but he could feel the change. It was taking root. But as he sat in his car, the engine purring to life, a sense of foreboding crept in. What if Mrs. Thompson didn't want to speak to him? What if he called, and she simply rejected him again? Voice trembling with purpose, Ethan pressed the call button, and the phone rang with each breath he took. This was it, the line between the man he was and the man he was becoming was sharp. Would Mrs. Thompson's voice be a comforting welcome or a painful reminder of the distance he still had to cross? Ethan's heart raced, a mix of hope and dread flooding through him as he waited for the other end to pick up. He could almost hear the echoes of laughter from happier times spent with Mrs. Thompson, her warm smile lighting up their quiet neighborhood. The phone rang, and he imagined her home filled with plants, the scent of fresh coffee wafting through the air. After the third ring, he heard her voice, soft yet strong. "Hello? Mrs. Thompson, it's Ethan," he managed to say, his throat tight. "I hope you're doing well." "Ethan? Oh, it's been a while," she replied, surprise coloring her voice. A small part of him clutched at that word, while time felt like both a barrier and a bridge. "I know. I wanted to reach out. I've been working on some community projects, and I'd love to talk to you about it. See if you might want to get involved." His words spilled out hurriedly, each syllable burdened with the hope of reconnecting. There was a moment of silence that felt like an eternity, and his stomach twisted with anticipation. "That sounds lovely, dear," she finally said. "What do you have in mind?" Relief washed over him, but he wasn't out of the woods yet. "We're organizing a cleanup day at the park. And I know I hurt a lot of people in the past," he added hesitantly. "But I really want to help rebuild our community, and I'd like to do it together." "Rebuilding is a tall order, Ethan," she cautioned gently. "But you've always had a good heart. I see you're trying." Her kind words lit a small flame of hope in him. "I'm really trying, Mrs. Thompson. I want to make things right. Let's meet. I don't know about this cleanup thing, but I'm interested to hear what else you have in mind," she said. As they set a time and place to meet up later that week, Ethan felt gratitude swell within him. He ended the call, his spirits soaring. Conversation with her had ignited a new zest for change in him. But there was still nagging uncertainty. How would others respond to his call for unity? That evening, he sat in his quiet living room, considering who to call next. There were a few other neighbors, some he hadn't spoken to for years. Would they react like Mrs. Thompson? His fingers hovered over the contacts on his phone, and he felt fear creep back in. What if they were still upset? What if his attempts at mending ties only drove them further away? He took a deep breath, shaking his head as if to clear the thoughts. Negativity wouldn't help. He had to push forward, take those tentative steps toward hope. Choosing a number, he dialed again, this time reaching out to Mark, a fellow father from the neighborhood. His heart pounded as the phone rang. They played together at barbecues, but a conflict years back had set them at odds. "Mark, it's Ethan. Can we talk?" The words felt heavy, as if they carried the weight of regret. There was a pause, and then Mark's voice came through, cool but not unkind. "Sure, what's up?" As involvement began to unfold, so did his fears. Ethan knew this journey was just beginning. Each call was a step deeper into the uncharted waters of reconciliation, pulling him forward into unknown emotional territory. The road ahead was daunting, but with each conversation, the fear gradually nudged aside, revealing a thin thread of connection and possibility. Would Mark offer a chance to rebuild their friendship, or would he turn his back, leaving Ethan once again standing alone? Ethan paced his living room, thoughts bouncing like a pinball. After his call with Mrs. Thompson, a flicker of determination burned bright, but that spark threatened to dim as he weighed his next moves. Mark had always been the kind of guy who didn't forgive easily, and the air between them was thick with unspoken words and painful memories. "Just breathe," he whispered to himself, grounding himself in the moment. He glanced at the small window where the sun dipped behind the trees, casting long shadows across his floor, that beautiful dance of light and dark reminding him of the complexities of life. Dialing Mark's number again felt like stepping onto a tightrope. The phone rang just once, his breath caught in his throat. "Come on," he urged silently, as the ringing continued. Finally, Mark picked up. "Hey, Ethan." Mark's voice rolled through the speaker, cooler than he remembered. "Thanks for answering," Ethan replied, trying to keep his tone light. "I know things have been awkward between us." "A bit of an understatement," Mark said flatly. Ethan winced. He had to tread carefully. "I'm not asking for forgiveness right away. I know that's not fair. But I think we both know we had something good once. Mark's silence steadied the tension. Each second weighted with past grudges. Yeah, but things changed. People change, Mark finally replied, his voice softer now, but still guarded. Ethan's heart raced. I know I messed up. I just want to reach out and try to make things right. I've been working on this community project, and it would be great to have you involved. Help bring everyone back together. The words flowed out, full of hope and urgency. Another silence drew between them, pulling taut. Then Mark let out a breath. What's the project? Cleaning up the park, bringing the neighborhood back together. It's a small start, but it's something. Ethan felt a glimmer of optimism. Cleaning up junk. Huh? You really think people will care? There was a hint of skepticism laced in Mark's voice. Maybe not at first. Ethan's voice steadied. But it's about more than just picking up trash. It's about rebuilding trust, rekindling friendships. It's about showing we can change. Together. For a moment, he imagined the park bustling again, kids playing, laughter echoing, neighbors connecting over shared experiences. It was a vision that made his chest swell with longing. Listen, I'll think about it. I have some things going on right now, Mark replied slowly, but I appreciate you reaching out. Thank you, Mark. That means a lot. Ethan couldn't help the smile creeping onto his face. After hanging up, he felt lighter, the weight of uncertainty lifting just a little. He was still scared. Would others respond positively? What if they weren't ready to forgive? But this first step had cracked open the door. He had done all he could for today. As dusk settled, he stepped outside, the cool air brushing against his skin. He walked over to the park, feeling the gravel crunch beneath his feet. The swings stood still, and the slides were dusted with a thin layer of leaves waiting to be cleared. He closed his eyes, imagining the scene: family picnics, children laughing, neighbors gathered under the sun. It seemed so possible, yet so distant. He whispered a silent promise to himself. As he turned to head back home, a flicker of movement caught his eye. A group of kids skateboarded by, their laughter echoing like a distant memory. He felt a tug at his heart. Could this one act of kindness truly create change? The answers felt just out of reach, but Ethan pressed on. His phone buzzed in his pocket, pulling him from thought. Another number. Another chance. Hello? A familiar voice said. It was Lisa, someone he hadn't spoken to in ages. Hey, Lisa. But what she didn't expect was the gravity of the invitation he was about to extend. Ethan. It's been forever. Lisa's voice was bright, full of that infectious energy he remembered from their high school days. He could almost picture her, the sun catching her hair, a smile dancing on her lips. Yeah, it has, he replied, his heart racing as he thought about how to navigate this conversation. How have you been? Busy with work and life, you know how it is. But what about you? You sound different, more serious. Ethan took a breath. I've been working on something in the community. A project to clean up the park, actually. I was hoping you might want to get involved, help me spread the word. There was a pause, the kind that suddenly made the distance between them feel vast. A community project? Really? Sounds ambitious. What brought that on? I guess I'm trying to make a change. You know, after all the stuff that's happened. His voice faltered. What we had, our friendship, it really meant a lot to me. Lisa's laughter faded, replaced by a soft sigh. Ethan, I remember the good times. But things just haven't been the same since we graduated. Everyone went their own way. He felt a knot in his stomach. I know. That's why I thought this could be a fresh start. We could bring people together again. Fight some of that negativity, make a difference. Look, I've seen things go wrong in these attempts before. People get upset, things turn messy. It's not easy to gather everyone back to a place that holds so many memories of how things fell apart. She said gently. Oh, but we can't just sit back, can we? If we don't try, then everything stays as it is. His words spilled out, tinged with a desperate hope. I really believe we can do this, Lisa. Change doesn't happen without risk. Another pause. And then, I'll think about it, Ethan. But I'm busy with work. You know I've got responsibilities now. Yeah, of course, he replied, momentarily deflated. But when can we chat more? I need friends like you on my side. Let us try to reconnect soon. Okay? Just don't get your hopes up too high. The call ended, leaving Ethan clutching the phone tightly. A mixture of hope and nagging doubt swirled in his head. What if Lisa didn't come through? But he was determined to not let fear dictate today's outcome. He grabbed his jacket and headed back out to the park. He had an idea: bring life back to the swings, the slides, maybe even the benches. They could be a gathering point for old friends, for families, and for memories yet to be made. The fall leaves crunched underfoot, each step marking out his path forward as he arrived at the park. He was surprised to find a couple of neighbors there, each with their kids, looking curiously at the battered playground equipment. He took a breath, feeling determined. Hey, we're gonna clean this place up. Who's with me? They turned toward him, shades of confusion mixed with a flicker of interest. What are you talking about? One mother asked, her eyebrows raised. I'm organizing a cleanup next Saturday. Just some time to get together, chat, and fix this park. Help the kids have a place to play again and bring everyone back together. A father stepped forward. Cleaning up the park. Huh? That's ambitious, but sounds good. We could use that around here. Ethan felt his heart swell. If we can all chip in a little, we can make a big change. The murmur of agreement from the small group was like music to Ethan's ears. Maybe this was the spark that ignited something bigger. He was about to speak again when a voice cut through the air. Hey, I'm in. I've been meaning to talk to you about some ideas I have for the park. Ethan turned to see Mark standing a few steps away, an unexpected warmth spreading through him. This could actually happen. Mark, Ethan started, feeling the weight of their past but also the potential of their future. What was it Mark wanted to say? Ethan held his breath, the momentum shifting, as the next chapter of change started to unfold right before him. Ethan stood before the gathered community, his heart racing with anticipation. Today felt different. The cool morning air hung with possibilities, and the park, once neglected, buzzed with a sense of renewal. Bright banners fluttered in the breeze, and scattered volunteers worked with eagerness, transforming the playground line by line as they cleared litter and painted slides. Laughter rang out like music. Kids chased each other, echoing joy that reminded Ethan of simpler days. This was the spark of change he had longed for, and it lit his soul with warmth. He spotted Maria chatting with families nearby, her smile radiant like the sun breaking through clouds. She had believed in this vision from the start, and her dedication inspired him even more. As he made his way over to her, he noticed hands working together, a vibrant mixing of old friends and new faces, united by a common cause. Look at them, Maria said, nodding toward the crowd. Every person out here is a step toward healing. Ethan grinned. I can hardly believe it. Remember when we were just two people on opposite sides? Now we're the bridge, she replied, eyes glistening. You've done so much by stepping forward. Ethan's gaze flitted to the park's entrance, and a knot tightened in his stomach. What if Jordan showed up? What if the ghosts of his past swept through this moment, threatening to taint everything? But as he watched each family's face filled with hope, he pushed those fears aside. They were creating memories here, tangible signs of change. Hey, Mark called, striding over with a couple of neighbors in tow. We've got some ideas for future projects too, maybe even revamping the basketball court. Ethan felt a thrill of excitement at the notion. Absolutely, that could really draw people in. Every new proposal built upon the last, growing from a small community cleanup into a blueprint for the future, a brighter, more connected neighborhood waiting to unfold, and the conversation that flowed with energetic ease. Old wounds began to close. Despite the worry creeping into the corners, the joy birthed from collaborative effort made it more manageable. With each suggestion, the community's trust seemed to thaw, ever so slightly, into something open and inviting. As they wrapped up their work for the day, drinks and snacks flowed freely, laughter filled the space, and the park buzzed with camaraderie. The scent of freshly cut grass mixed with the aroma of hot dogs sizzling on the grill felt unreal, like a scene from a movie. Ethan couldn't help but lose himself in the moment, soaking in every smile and friendly chatter. But as the day progressed, a familiar figure appeared at the edge of the crowd. It was Jordan. A wave of tension rolled through Ethan, and he braced himself for the confrontation he dreaded. Deep breaths steadied his nerves as he approached. "Jordan," he called out, trying to gauge his old friend's mood. "Ethan," Jordan replied flatly, the shadows of their complicated past evident in his tone. "Is this where you've been hiding, playing community hero?" Ethan held his ground, heart pounding. "I'm just trying to do what's right. We can't ignore the problems anymore." Jordan's gaze flickered to the bustling community around them. Children laughing, families gathered. "You really think this will change anything? You can't just erase your past mistakes." "I know I can't," Ethan admitted, his voice steady and strong. "But I'm not here to change for you or anyone else. I'm here because this is where I want to be, where I belong. I want to help." Jordan studied him, skepticism etched on his face. There was a moment of silence, a subtle acceptance in the air, before he spoke again. "You really believe that you and this community can make a difference?" Ethan let the weight of that question hang in the air. "Yes, I do. I have to believe it. It's not about erasing the past. It's about standing up and making it better." Just then, Maria joined them, her energy radiating like the sun. "This is what it's all about, Jordan. We're not here to overlook the past, we're moving forward. Together that's what counts." Jordan looked between them, and Ethan waited, heart in his throat. For an instant, hope flickered within Jordan's gaze. Slowly, an almost imperceptible shift appeared, as if he was considering the possibility for the first time. "All right, maybe you've got a point," Jordan said at last. "This may actually be something worth sticking around for." Ethan felt a rush of relief mixed with gratitude. There, among their families and friends, a bridge began to form, a connection waiting to be strengthened against the currents of past hurt. As the sun dipped lower, casting a warm glow over the community, Ethan felt a transformative energy weaving through everyone present. It was about more than just a clean-up. It was about shared aspirations and rebuilding trust, the foundation to nurture something profound. Later that evening, when the park glowed with laughter and connection, Ethan stood beside Maria, watching as the community came alive around them. Together, they had turned a corner, one smile at a time. He felt lighter, the burdens of regret replaced with renewed purpose. This was just the beginning. But as he embraced the warmth of the moment, he knew he was ready to face the storms of his past and hold tight to the bonds of the future. And if you felt this transformation, you need to subscribe now to catch more incredible stories. This is the moment to show your support. So leave a like now and feed the algorithm. Tell us your thoughts in the comments. How did this journey impact you? And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Your support makes all the difference, and every connection you share helps build this community. Thank you.